Remember words by reading essays. Outsmarting Scammers.
Good morning, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to study the article Outsmarting Scammers. First, I would like you to listen to the whole passage carefully. Try to understand the general idea and main message without worrying too much about the details. Just focus on the overall meaning and how the story develops.
After years of ignoring online warnings, Michael decided to reconcile with his cautious instincts, realizing he needed to protect his finances. One day, he received a message that tried to put on a par with official bank emails. Something felt at odds with his previous experiences, and the inconsistencies made him roll with his own doubts. The scammers even attempted to scuffle with his logic, presenting threats meant to provoke panic. Michael carefully contrasted the email with legitimate communications, its tone and content pitted against reality, while small details skirmished with the truth, clearly alien to standard banking procedures. Some of the demands were incongruous with genuine practices, designed to make victims act impulsively. He decided to converse with his bank and also confer with knowledgeable friends. The scammers tried to flirt with urgency, hoping victims would gallivant with someone or blindly follow links. Michael knew to bear scant relation to such threats, as they rarely matched real circumstances. By checking sources, he saw how scam offers often fall short of legitimate claims. Verification methods that dovetail with real security practices were effective, and being alert was correlated with avoiding losses. Michael could even draw a parallel with past scam patterns to predict their tricks. The scammers' attempts to escalate fear could hamstring rational thinking or spook people into hasty actions. Remaining calm allowed him to spot fraud before it could consummate. No money was lost. Through this experience, Michael learned the importance of vigilance, research, and consultation. By applying these skills, he not only protected himself, but also educated others about modern scam prevention.
Now, let's listen to the passage again. This time, we will go through it more carefully. While listening, I will pause at important parts to explain key vocabulary and useful phrases. Please pay special attention to how these expressions are used in context and how they contribute to the meaning of the text.
After years of ignoring online warnings, Michael decided to reconcile with his cautious instincts, realizing he needed to protect his finances.
In this text, the phrase reconcile with means to accept something that you were previously uncomfortable with or in conflict about. Michael had ignored online warnings before, but he decided to reconcile with his cautious instincts. In other words, he accepted that his inner voice was right and chose to trust it.
Does reconcile with always mean making peace with a person?
Good question. It can mean restoring a relationship with a person, but it can also mean accepting an idea, fact, or feeling.
So here it means he accepted his cautious side.
Exactly. He stopped resisting it and chose to agree with it.
One day, he received a message that tried to put on a par with official bank emails.
In the passage, the phrase put on a par with means to consider something equal to something else in status, quality, or importance. The scammers tried to put their fake email on a par with official bank emails, meaning they wanted it to appear just as trustworthy and legitimate.
Does it always mean something is truly equal?
Not necessarily. It can mean either truly equal or just presented as equal, even if it's not.
So in this case, the email only pretended to be equal to real bank emails.
Exactly. It was made to look equally credible, but it wasn't genuine.
Something felt at odds with his previous experiences.
In the text, the phrase at odds with means in conflict or disagreement with something. Michael felt the message was at odds with his previous experiences. meaning the email did not match what he knew about real bank communications.
Is it only used for arguments between people?
Not at all. It can describe conflict between ideas, facts, experiences, or even values.
So here it means the email didn't agree with reality.
Exactly. It conflicted with what he knew to be true.
And the inconsistencies made him roll with his own doubts.
In this passage, the phrase row with means to have an argument or internal conflict. Here, Michael rode with his own doubts, which suggests he struggled mentally, debating whether the email was real or fake.
Is row spelled R-O-W?
Yes, but it's pronounced row, like cow. It means a quarrel or dispute.
So he wasn't arguing with another person.
Correct. He was arguing within himself, trying to decide what to believe.
The scammers even attempted to scuffle with his logic, presenting threats meant to provoke panic.
In this passage, the phrase scuffle with means to struggle or fight, often in a messy or confused way. The text says the scammers tried to scuffle with Michael's logic, meaning they tried to confuse or challenge his reasoning.
Does scuffle always mean a physical fight?
Not always. It can be literal, like a small fight, or figurative, like struggling with an idea or problem.
So here it's about him mentally resisting their tricks.
Exactly. It's a struggle of the mind, not a physical fight.
Michael carefully contrasted the email with legitimate communications.
In the text, the word contrasted means to compare two things to highlight their differences. Michael carefully contrasted the scam email with legitimate communications, meaning he looked at both to see what didn't match.
Is it the same as just comparing?
It's similar, but contrast emphasizes differences more than similarities.
So he was checking how the email was different from real bank messages.
Exactly. He focused on the differences to spot the scam.
Its tone and content pitted against reality.
In this passage, the phrase pitted against means to test or compare something by putting it in opposition to another thing. The email's tone and content were pitted against reality, meaning Michael examined them to see if they matched real banking practices.
Can pit against be used physically too?
Yes, it can describe a physical competition, like two teams pitted against each other. But it's often used figuratively.
So here it's about comparing the email with what's real.
Exactly. He was testing the email against reality to spot the scam.
While small details skirmish with the truth,
In the passage, the phrase skirmished with means to have a minor or brief conflict. Here, small details in the email skirmished with the truth, meaning they didn't fully match reality and cause doubt.
Is a skirmish always a physical fight?
Not necessarily. It can be literal, like a small battle, or figurative, like a small clash of facts or ideas.
So the email's details were slightly conflicting with the truth.
Exactly. They weren't completely false, but they didn't fully line up with reality.
clearly alien to standard banking procedures.
In this passage, the phrase alien to means unfamiliar or strange. The details in the email were alien to standard banking procedures, meaning they were unusual and didn't fit what Michael knew about real banks.
Can alien to describe people too?
Yes. It can describe anything that feels foreign or unfamiliar, including ideas, customs, or people.
So here it means the email's details were not normal for a bank.
Exactly. They seemed strange and suspicious compared to real banking practices.
Some of the demands were incongruous with genuine practices, designed to make victims act impulsively.
In the passage, the phrase incongruous with means not in harmony or not fitting with something else. Some demands in the scam email were incongruous with genuine banking practices, meaning they didn't match what a real bank would do.
Is it similar to contradicting?
It's related, but incongruous emphasizes something is out of place or inappropriate, not necessarily directly opposite.
So the email had requests that just didn't fit real procedures.
Exactly. They were unusual and didn't belong in normal banking practices.
He decided to converse with his bank.
In the passage, the phrase converse with means to talk or communicate with someone. Michael decided to converse with his bank and knowledgeable friends to verify the email, meaning he spoke with them for advice and clarification.
Is converse with more formal than talk to?
Yes. It's slightly more formal and often used in writing or professional contexts.
So he wasn't just thinking about it. He actually spoke to others.
Exactly. He communicated directly to check the information.
And also confer with knowledgeable friends.
In the passage, the phrase confer with means to discuss something with someone, usually to get advice or make a decision. Michael conferred with knowledgeable friends, meaning he consulted them to decide how to handle the scam email.
Is it different from just talking?
Yes. Confer with implies a purposeful discussion, often for advice or planning, not casual chat.
So he asked his friends for guidance.
Exactly. He sought their input to make a careful decision.
The scammers tried to flirt with urgency.
In the passage, the phrase flirt with means to play with or lightly try something, often in a risky or tempting way. The scammers tried to flirt with urgency, meaning they were tempting victims to act quickly without thinking.
Can flirt with mean romance too?
Yes. Literally, it can mean showing romantic interest. But figuratively, it often means to toy with an idea, risk, or temptation.
So here. It's about tempting people to panic.
Exactly. The scammers were testing whether urgency would make victims act impulsively.
Hoping victims would gallivant with someone or blindly follow links.
In the passage, the phrase gallivant with means to wander or move around freely, often carelessly or without purpose. The scammers hoped victims would gallivant with someone or blindly follow links, meaning they wanted people to act without thinking.
Is gallivant always about traveling?
Not necessarily. It usually implies moving about in a carefree or reckless way, either physically or metaphorically.
So here it means victims might recklessly click links or follow instructions.
Exactly. The scammers wanted them to act impulsively, without caution.
Michael knew to bear scant relation to such threats, as they rarely matched real circumstances.
In the passage, the phrase bears scant relation to means to have very little connection or relevance. Michael knew the scam threats bore scant relation to real circumstances, meaning they were mostly unrelated to what actually happens in legitimate banking.
Does scant
just mean small.
Yes. It means very little or barely enough.
So the threats weren't really true or connected to reality.
Exactly. They were mostly false and not relevant to real banking practices.
By checking sources, he saw how scam offers often fall short of legitimate claims.
In the passage, the phrase fall short means to fail to reach a standard or expectation. Scam offers often fall short of legitimate claims, meaning they don't measure up to what a real service or bank would provide.
Can it be used for people too?
Yes, it can describe people, efforts, or things that don't meet expectations.
So the scams looked convincing but didn't meet real standards.
Exactly. They promised more than they could actually deliver.
Verification methods that dovetail with real security practices were effective.
In the passage, the phrase dovetail with means to fit together neatly or match perfectly. Verification methods that dovetail with real security practices are methods that align well with proper safety procedures.
Can dovetail with be used outside of security?
Yes. It's often used for ideas, plans, or systems that fit together smoothly.
So here it means the verification methods matched real banking practices.
Exactly. They worked in harmony with trusted security procedures.
And being alert was correlated with avoiding losses.
In the passage, the phrase correlated with means that two things are connected or show a relationship. Being alert is correlated with avoiding losses, meaning people who stay cautious tend to lose less money.
Is it the same as cause and effect?
Not exactly. Correlation shows a relationship, but it doesn't prove one thing causes the other.
So being careful and avoiding loss happen together. But one doesn't necessarily cause the other.
Exactly. They tend to go hand in hand, but it's not a direct cause.
Michael could even draw a parallel with past scam patterns to predict their tricks.
In the passage, the phrase draw a parallel with means to compare two things to show they are similar in some way. Michael could draw a parallel with past scam patterns to predict the scammer's tricks, meaning he compared the current situation to previous scams.
Is it like saying two things are exactly the same?
Not exactly. It highlights similarities, but they don't have to be identical.
So he used past experiences to understand the current scam.
Exactly. He saw patterns that helped him anticipate what might happen.
The scammer's attempts to escalate fear could hamstring rational thinking or spook people into hasty actions. Remaining calm allowed him to spot fraud before it could consummate. No money was lost. Through this experience, Michael learned the importance of vigilance, research, and consultation. By applying these skills, he not only protected himself, but also educated others about modern scam prevention.
Next, we will listen to the entire passage once more. After understanding the vocabulary and phrases, you should be able to follow the story more smoothly. Try to connect the expressions we discussed with the overall theme and notice how the ideas are organized.
After years of ignoring online warnings, Michael decided to reconcile with his cautious instincts, realizing he needed to protect his finances. One day, he received a message that tried to put on a par with official bank emails. Something felt at odds with his previous experiences, and the inconsistencies made him roll with his own doubts. The scammers even attempted to scuffle with his logic, presenting threats meant to provoke panic. Michael carefully contrasted the email with legitimate communications, its tone and content pitted against reality, while small details skirmished with the truth, clearly alien to standard banking procedures. Some of the demands were incongruous with genuine practices, designed to make victims act impulsively. He decided to converse with his bank and also confer with knowledgeable friends. The scammers tried to flirt with urgency, hoping victims would gallivant with someone or blindly follow links. Michael knew to bear scant relation to such threats, as they rarely matched real circumstances. By checking sources, he saw how scam offers often fall short of legitimate claims. Verification methods that dovetail with real security practices were effective, and being alert was correlated with avoiding losses. Michael could even draw a parallel with past scam patterns to predict their tricks. The scammers' attempts to escalate fear could hamstring rational thinking or spook people into hasty actions. Remaining calm allowed him to spot fraud before it could consummate. No money was lost. Through this experience, Michael learned the importance of vigilance, research, and consultation. By applying these skills, he not only protected himself, but also educated others about modern scam prevention.
That brings us to the end of today's lesson. We have explored the key phrases and expressions in Outsmarting Scammers and discussed how they are used in context. I hope this helps you better understand the text and apply these phrases in your own speaking and writing. Thank you for your attention.
And see you next time.